Hey there, and welcome to the Dynamics Hot Dish Podcast, serving up stories and knowledge on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. This is what's hot in Dynamics. You're now joining Merlin Schweiger, Liz McGlennon, and Ashley Steiner. You just say that because you just prefer to make fun of me all the time.
It is my favorite hobby.
Understand? I can only imagine how sad you'd be if this podcast ever comes to an end. You can't pick on me on a regular basis anymore.
I'll just text you. I'll think of stuff. Be like, dude, show me the rat tail.
Like,
we still have not seen a picture of that rat tail.
Especially like with it over your shoulder.
I know.
We have like,
do we need to set like a due date? Do you have to like go to your mom's house?
I know. It's like I'm legit gonna call your mom and be like, hey, I need a picture of.
Do you have her phone number handy?
I will
you got her on speed dial?
Merlin's mom's phone number. Man, if I Google that, I'm sure I could find it. I'll ask Molly. It'll be fine.
I don't know if Molly's got a picture either.
I'll ask Molly for your mom's phone number.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Wasn't following the thread there.
I was. I'm like, there's ways to get this.
Yeah. Like I'm not.
My mom is at her house in Wisconsin right now. So she could probably take a snapshot.
So that's your to do then, Merlin. If you could write a little sticky for yourself.
We just put that on the priority list over here.
You should. Right up at the top. Must do list. Right.
For the next chit chat.
And then
show everyone.
I'll display it from my phone on the video, maybe briefly, but
and then we'll include it in the show notes. I
have to make sure that there are no digital copies that escape.
We'll upload it to the website as like your bio.
Actually, we'll just use it as like the tease for the episode.
Yeah,
like
for
on social
sure.
media.
Yeah. Now he's not gonna let us have it. Actually, we have to go directly to his mom so that we can get a copy.
I really feel like we should go through Molly and just talk to his mom.
I'll start sending messages now to make sure that she's.
What if we all choose like embarrassing? Would it make you feel better if we all did like embarrassing pictures from
embarrassing kid pictures?
Middle school, high school era?
That would probably help. Yes.
Yeah, because I've got I used to have a spacer like before I did braces because there wasn't enough room for all my teeth. So I started high school with a gap tooth. And I talked like dish because I had like a big, it was horrible. Yeah. So for people just listening, it was that terrible. Imagine starting high school like that. So today we're talking about like search and advanced find and just ways to find records and Dynamics, like find data. And I think that goes along with that is there's a new feature release for advanced find coming in wave 1. Might be a good place to start just to kind of give our thoughts and feedback. Again, totally just disclaimer, I have not actually played with it live, just read about it and seen screenshots.
Same.
I was gonna say, I think we're kind of all in the same boat on that. I like the fact that they're doing something with it and bringing it in line with the rest of the interface. Like obviously it's a little bit jarring today to be like, oh, you've got all this unified interface stuff and everything like looks and works the same way. But if you want to use advanced find, then you're like, oh yeah, I'm back to 2011. Like it still has, like the ribbon is literally unchanged. It's exactly the same as it's always been for the last 10, 11 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's hard to go back and forth between that and the UI ribbon because like for people who are just starting out and they have never used that 2011 ribbon, imagine it opens and you just have no idea.
Yeah, you're like, wait, what is this? So I like that they're upgrading it based on the screenshots. I don't know that I'm super enthusiastic about at least where they've hidden it. Yeah, it seems like it shows up as an extra option. Like when you click in the search bar, then at the very bottom, there'll be a thing that says you can go here for advanced find. But if you type anything in the search bar, then it's going to start searching right away. And then that thing goes away, which if that's where you want to put it, okay. But like, why not just leave it there the whole time? Like maybe whatever I start typing in, I'm like, oh, I'm not getting what I want. I would like to go to advanced find. Like, when I gotta backspace everything out and then click the thing.
It seems not intuitive and like it's gonna be more clicks then.
I was just gonna say, can we comment about how Microsoft loves to add clicks to like get to something? Like, okay, fine, it's one click, you have this pop-up window, but now you have to like pop in the search bar, click one click, you have to click on this thing, and then you have to like, and then the filters show up, and then you have to click one more thing to actually get to like the rows to be able to identify the data. So it's multiple steps to get to that one place where you could before. Which is, I mean, again, like I always try to tell salespeople, like, it's not about the number of clicks, it's about like the quality of what you're getting. So here I am like eating my own words, I guess, but it is annoying.
But that's not what salespeople want to hear. I cannot even begin to count how many implementations over the years people are like, okay, but that's too many clicks. How do we reduce the number of clicks? Like, the solution that you built for me looks cool, but I don't want to click that many times. My users don't want to click that many times.
Let's be real though, salespeople aren't going to be using Advanced Find.
Probably true.
Like what
except you're expert one. Like I've had salespeople in the past use it, but like they're the SMEs, they're like the real advanced
the power
people.
users, super users. So like no one wants more clicks. Like it's not just salespeople. Like we don't want more clicks to get to it.
It's true.
It's just funny. I've spent my whole life like convincing salespeople that it's okay, and here I am complaining about it.
I mean, yeah, they do like to add clicks.
So just to be,
it's to push it away, right? It's to keep it there only for the people who need it. Sorry, go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, so to be clear, like the advanced find button on the top blue bar is going away.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah. Just want to be sure that, that's what we understand it to be. But that, I think that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Now,
well, it's also kind of frustrating because like I've taught people I call it the martini glass. It looks like a martini glass, the filter. And so like what's frustrating to me is that like I have ingrained that in people's heads. So now to like, I mean, it's true with any change, right? But it's still frustrating.
You'll be like, where's my martini glass? I need my martini.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying they'll remember it if you use things like that. So.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
One of the positive change, I think it's a positive change, is that now Advanced Find will only let you search on the tables that are included in your app.
That is
which I think that's great.
That's cool.
Both from like a kind of data pseudo security perspective, like now if it's not in the app, like I don't really have to worry about somebody wandering into that data. And also now I have a good way of filtering down that list of all of the tables that you could ever click on, because okay, when you click on that list today and the first 20 items are like a bunch of like AI stuff.
That's what I think partly made Advanced Find so hard to use, is that it like, how would a normal end user like look at that giant list of tables and like understand the data structure enough to like know what to pick? Like it would just be overwhelming. So I agree. Like I think from a usability perspective, that helps a lot. Yeah.
Well, and how many times have you like created a new table with the same display name as an existing table, and then you don't realize it necessarily because it's not, you're obviously only putting yours in the app, and then you get into Advanced Find, you're like, oh wait, which one is mine?
So does it filter down the list of fields too?
Oh, I don't know.
Because that would be cool, because the same problem applies to fields.
But fields don't
you have that searchable option? You can make it, but it removes it from one place.
Really
but from the
updates that.
Well, a good admin list that has a lot of time.
Right. I've seen that happen like 2 times in 10 years.
I don't think that it will filter fields because fields aren't app aware.
But forms are, and the form knows what fields are on it.
Now you're just thinking that it's way too smart, Liz.
No, but then it's then it's going to have to look at all your forms to see which fields are on the forms. And it's going to have to look at all your views to see which fields are in your views.
Like I didn't think it would. I just
then
thought
it would take
ask.
Like it would take
Microsoft, add that in.
Go add that to the idea site.
It would take too long to load up. There's no way.
Okay, so what does this mean for an admin then that like wants to use the Advanced Find and maybe they need to report or filter, pull data that isn't in the app?
Well, then you make your admin app.
Yeah, so I guess that was going to be my suggestion too. Is add as the admin at our company. I have an admin app that just literally has everything in it. Every form, every view. I've even created some like system views that are only for the admin app just to put all the data in one place. And I think that's super manageable because if you just put everything in it, you don't have to like constantly update it.
Yeah. And I feel like if I were an admin, I would kind of want to do that anyway, just because I don't know, I feel like I'd want to have the things that are important to me as the admin and also everything else. I wouldn't want to have to like go into advanced find every time to be like, oh, well, I need to see what this particular data in this other table is like.
Well, especially if you're like, for us, we have 2 different integrations to our ERP system. So we use 2 different, simple example, we have 2 different customer fields. So if I'm in one app, one customer field appears, but if I'm in another app, a different customer field is the one, customer number is the one that we use. So it's like, I can't put them both in the same view because people are going to freak out if like, so in my admin app, like every view that I have has both of those. And so it's just, I mean, I think that there's a lot of circumstances where an admin app makes sense. And I think the new advanced find is one of them, but there's a ton of existing reasons why you should have one.
This is only a supporting reason. So I presume that Microsoft is revising advanced find and making it maybe a little bit harder to get to because they want most users to use the already available like filter and column adjuster thing, which is reasonably good. All I would ask from the product team is if I have made a change to a view where those little buttons are for like the adjust columns and the do the filters, just pop another little button there that's just a little save for me.
Yeah,
So
I mean, saving needs to be easier.
Because otherwise it's like I gotta go here, save this. No.
Well, I think it's, for me, sure, like as an admin, fine, I remember whatever, I have to go all these places, but like trying to like, I'm like, hey, cool, salespeople, you can add your own columns now. And then they do it, they forget where to save it, and then they're like, it didn't save. Now I'm back in and it's not there. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do this
it puts
again.
an asterisk on the view name when it's not saved.
Right. But like what salesperson is going to notice that?
Okay. And if you navigate away, it goes away. And when you come in the
it
next
doesn't
day, you're like,
warn you. It doesn't
does
do
not
a
warn
pop-up
you.
like, are you sure you want to move away because you haven't saved your changes?
See,
it does not do that.
And I don't need it to warn me. I don't even care about the asterisk. I just want a little save button to show up. If a little save button showed up and I'd be like, oh, if I want to save this, I just click the little button.
I'm going to be more needy. I would love a prompt.
End users would need it. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, so as like somebody who works with end users every day, a prompt would be amazing.
I suppose. I don't know.
But it is a cool direction,
clicks.
right? Like, I feel like this is how things always go with Microsoft, right? They release something and you're like, oh, this is cool. And then you find all the things wrong with it. And that's all we ever talk about are the things that are wrong with it. But
hey, we should be really excited that the advanced find is getting an update.
How many times have we talked about that over the last 10 years that like nothing has changed?
And it's always hard to use. Like people really complain about the UI, and the UI is super and like it's just so different than the rest of the UI and unified interface now.
I remember at Summit when they used to have like the Microsoft panels and it was Q&A, that was always a question that would come up is like, are you going to make changes to advanced find? Are you gonna, like every year? And they would always be like, no, it's not on the roadmap. But maybe with COVID, they had time to like just sit and code stuff. I don't know. Because the last Summit I went to was in where they had a Microsoft panel was 2019 and they said, no, it wasn't on the roadmap. So I guess a lot can change in 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe they listened to the community.
Yeah, right.
And prioritized it.
Be interesting that they finally listen.
Well, at a certain point, it's not broke. Don't fix it.
Yeah.
It wasn't broken. It just looked terrible. I had a former coworker who was very, very opposed to advanced find. It was like, don't ever show anybody advanced find. Don't show them the training. Don't show them the demos. Just never talk about advanced find because I hate it and it's terrible.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't think you should start ever with advanced find. Like you got to gauge your audience and feel out if they're ready. But like one of my favorite moments is always when you get that like subset of like super users or power users that you're like, okay, we're going to go to the next level and teach you advanced find. And then like the light bulb goes off, but they're like, oh my gosh, I can get to any of the data or whatever data I want. And they like get really excited. And so no, it's not for everyone. And you don't want to overwhelm like kind of your general beginner end user with it. But for the right person, it's really powerful. And I think, it's going to really help them get more value out of the system if they know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a part of that though is so like now you find the advanced find. Gosh, that was hard to say. In like the search bar, I mean, should talk about how the search has changed. Now it's
Yeah.
just, there's no such thing as relevant search or global search. It's just
Categorized
all
search.
one. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's all together, right? You don't have to enable relevant search. It's
Right.
just there.
Decide which one you want to use.
Right. And like
Yeah.
train your users on like setting, or you have to set their settings for them or things like that. It's just.
And what is
one
it
search.
called now? The Dataverse search?
Search? Yeah,
I don't
Dataverse
know.
search
Just
probably.
search, probably. Yeah.
Search. But there's the quick find search. Like this is still kind of a global search.
So I call it, so
Yeah.
when I train people, I call it local search because it sort of searches just the local data that you have on your screen. And then I call it global search because it searches the entire system. So internally, that's what I've called it, to like have it make sense to our end users. But I don't know if like other people have used I'd love to hear what other people call it or how you describe it to internal folks that you're training. And so maybe that's a good comment for people to leave.
Probably true.
And then the local or the quick find search has also changed. Like that used to be its own view with its own set of parameters, and now that search searches within the view that you're on.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that I think is
Which-
a big improvement too, because that always confused people.
Right, because it would pull up anything regardless, and you had to have
Well, it would pull
The
up what was
columns.
defined in that view, that
Right.
like the
Right.
view that no one knew was there.
right.
Right.
Well, and the columns now stay the same too. Like that's
Right.
really like that is like when that change happened, I was like, this is gold. Like, because then people aren't being taken to like a whole nother search screen.
No, I agree. Yeah.
The ironic part here is that I'm so like habituated into the old way that I still to this day will type something into the quick find and then be like, oh, right, this isn't my contact. So of course, and then I got to
Yeah.
go up to the other search and I type it again. Like I literally search twice because I can't remember that now it just searches on the view that I'm looking at.
I mean, it even says like search in this view.
I know.
No, but I
I know.
do the same thing.
That would
Same.
require
I
me to
like the
read it.
global search better. I just always use that all the time.
Yeah.
See, and I don't like the global search because it gives you too many results, in my opinion. So like, let's say that you're searching for Target as a company. Like any company that has the word Target in their name is gonna appear. And so
It probably
for
depends on your
us-
data set.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for us, like we could have, depending on the company that's in our system, they could have a record for every Target location across the United States
Oh, sure.
because we're servicing all of them. But let's say you were just looking for the corporate office because that's who you wanted to reach out to. Now you're left with like tens of thousands of results trying to find the one corporate office, where like I could just create you a view of all your corporate offices and then search there. So it's actually kind of hard. Like I have users all the time say, oh, this is like the local search. I call it that internally.
Yeah.
The local search is so much easier. Like, why did I not know about this? And I'm like, well, because the search bar at the top is just so inviting. Like it's just there. You want to use it.
Yeah.
But depending on your like your data set or how you use it, or you know what you're looking for, it can be not. I can see benefits and negatives to both of them.
Usually me, I'm like, oh, I just need to find Ashley's contact record. So I just type Ashley. And I don't know if I own Ashley's contact or if Liz owns Ashley's contact or somebody else owns it. And so if I'm looking at the wrong view, then Ashley doesn't come up. And I'm like, who the hell's Ashley? Oh, right. I searched in just the My Contacts view. 'Cause
Just
I'm
change
an
your
idiot.
default view to all contacts.
It's probably what I should do.
Not all active.
True.
True. Yes, the new search. I'm actually surprised it took Microsoft that long to get to just like the Google search experience. Like
Mhm.
just type in what you're looking for and it'll come up. Like, why did that take so long?
I never really understood why we had two global search options for so long. And like, yeah,
Mhm.
I just don't, yeah, it's like, why are you making us choose which, like what we want to use?
Right.
Oh,
Well, and I also like
yeah.
that you can identify which tables show up in that result of the global
Mhm.
search. Like, so we only have like 4 or 5 actual tables appear, but you can
And
also
you
identify.
should configure that. Like you should not
Agreed.
leave it on the default, and you should think about your business and what you want to show up. That is
Yeah,
one of my
'cause, like,
pet
we
peeves
have-
is when that's not considered and that's not configured, because it's really impactful to the search experience.
It is, well, especially for us because like, so we're in the printer industry, right? So like all of our printers have serial numbers. Well, our salespeople know the serial numbers of those machines. So they just
Sure.
want to search that serial number for that account to show up, to all this information. So it's like, why would you not configure it to the way that your people are using the system? So for us, like I took out a bunch of the like out of the box tables and added a bunch of our custom ones because it just made more sense. So I agree with you, Liz. You have to do that.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel as passionately as Liz does about it, but I agree.
I do like it when Liz gets passionate about stuff though.
It's like, ooh, that is a pet peeve.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's,
Can we please
it
do
should
a
just
podcast
be
of just
part of the project. What were you gonna say, Ashley?
I was gonna say we should do a podcast of just Liz's pet peeves. Like what
We could do
bothers
all
Liz?
of our pet peeves.
Let's start
peeves
with you.
podcast.
It's going to be a long one.
Wow.
Is make fun of Liz gonna become a new hashtag?
It doesn't have the same ring to it.
Pick on
Make
Liz?
fun of Merlin.
Pick on
Laugh at Liz.
Laugh at Liz. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
You gotta have some alliteration going to make
Yeah,
it more
yeah.
catchy.
I'll avoid that as long as I can. Any other thoughts that you guys have, or like suggestions for people as they make the transition or as they're trying to get their end users to use the search effectively or advanced find?
I mean, are we making the assumption that all of our listeners know about the wild card and the asterisks? Because I
that's
feel
a
like
good call.
that's a classic thing to like train end users on.
Except in the global search, you don't need it now.
Yeah, that's true. But in the quick find search, you still do.
Right.
Yeah.
Good old asterisk.
And you can use the asterisk. We have a lot, like if you have WL, right? And you have no idea if there's like a dot between like WL company, like you can use the asterisk in the middle of stuff too. It's not just in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that that's something people don't remember.
Yeah, like if
or
you're
don't
unsure of
realize.
like space and punctuation and
Mhm.
yeah.
I believe you can also use a question mark as a single character wildcard.
Oh,
So the asterisk is
Really?
any number of characters wildcard. But if you only want a single character wildcard, like I don't know if it's a space, a dot, a dash, a semicolon, you can just use a question mark.
how long have we had that?
Well, if it's still in the system, then it's been there since 2011.
I've
Maybe since
never
4.0.
knew. Ashley, did you know that?
Had no idea. Like I am in total shock right now.
Merlin, why have
mean-
you been withholding such critical information for 10
I feel like-
years?
I feel like there was never any reason to use the question mark because you could just use the asterisk. Like, what if it's more than one character and now your question mark is pointless?
I don't know,
But
to
I
have
believe-
random trivia knowledge for CRM.
Yeah,
I believe
we
you
could
could
have
use a question
lost
mark.
trivia night because you didn't share that with us, Merlin.
Well, hopefully, Ashley, I would have been on the same team, and so I would have known the answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't have invited you.
Ooh, harsh. Well, then I'm glad you lost this theoretical trivia night that didn't happen.
We should look to see, Merlin, we should look to see if that like is still true though, that question mark.
Let's
Like,
test
if it's
it.
still
It's true. I
possible,
do
yeah.
want to test that now. I'm kind of curious.
That's your homework, Merlin. Go test it and then tell us. And we'll
You
put
know
it
what
in the
happens
show
when we
notes.
give Merlin homework.
Yeah, we'll have to nag him to do it.
Any lasting thoughts? Any
I have a question about the quick find because I have not had
Yeah.
to configure it in a while. So this is just, I generally don't know. Have they changed the fact that do you still need to determine like what fields it's searching in?
yes. you
And so
do.
there's still some place, is that still a view or
It's
where
still
do
in
you?
the same, yeah. So there's
Okay.
still a quick find view, even
Okay.
though the view doesn't actually get used.
Right.
Just the like what to search.
The
gets-
find column.
the configure, configure find column, whatever it's called. Yeah. So you still have to
Interesting.
identify, because I've noticed that like in our environment, people are like, oh, I'm trying to search by email address. And I'm like, well, shouldn't it just be there? But it's not. So you have to like,
I wish it
things
would like, and maybe there's a reason why they haven't done this. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. But like, I wish it would just take the view that you're on and then let you search the columns that are visible in that view. Like, I feel like that would be more intuitive instead of
Well,
it
that
being
should be
this
the
separate
standard.
set of fields in the background that no one really can see.
well, I feel like that should be the standard. And then maybe on the
Yeah.
back end, you can identify like always search these three
Yeah.
in addition to whatever is in
Sure.
the view or something. Like, I
Sure.
feel like that would be the most ideal. Because, people are looking at that data and they're like, oh, I want to search by zip code. But what if you don't have that?
Right. So I guess if that's still the case and that hasn't changed, like I'd always viewed the best practice then as being pretty mindful about what you're turning on for that search. So if we think like about numbers you might have in the system, like phone number, address, zip code, maybe a customer ID, I'm sure there's plenty of other numbers. Like, and so if you're saying, oh, I want to search on all of that, and then it's returning results, like you're going to potentially get really messy results back. And so like, I've been on projects where they ask for basically like everything in the world turned on for that for searching. And it's like, no, I really think we need to take a step back and think about what columns, what fields are most relevant, because you don't get to define that. Like you can't say like, I'm going to search on phone number here. Like you were just searching for that number in any of those fields.
Yep. Well, and what we did is I do the full address. So if you want to search by the zip code, you have to use the wildcard. Because like to your point, there are so many number type options. So like, so I've just done the full address. So if you're looking for the state, the city, zip code, you have to use the wildcard.
That makes sense.
Interesting.
Especially because like states are 2 letters. So like,
well, states are text and could be anything.
That's true.
Out of the box, but that's a different problem.
Such a different problem.
I mean, yeah, data standardization when it comes to searching. Those text fields are fun.
They sure are. That's where that asterisk comes in. Just throw asterisks everywhere.
Or misspellings.
No.
That you can't fix with an asterisk.
Yeah, I can't fix that one. Yeah, I assume that they still limit the columns because every column that you make searchable, I believe on the database side, they're adding an index for it. And so it's like a database performance thing.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
But it would make sense to just search on the columns that I can see. And if I want to search on zip code and I'm not looking at the zip code, then I should just add the zip code column and then I should do my search. But
Right.
I agree. Makes too much sense, Liz. You're like using common sense here.
I am just repeating all the feedback and questions I've gotten from all my years of working with kind of the average end user and then being like, why doesn't it work like this? And you're like, it just doesn't. Sorry.
yeah, there's probably some architectural hurdle where they're like, well, but we built it to work this way, and now to build it to work that way, we have to like undo all of these things and redo them, or who knows.
So going back to how like the quick find searches within the view now, do you guys remember when we had that in 2011 when you could like use the client to interact with the whole system? Neither of you. So you know how like in the old Outlook client, you like some people
you
would
had
like
the whole database in
right,
Outlook.
like you would
Yes.
do all your work in Outlook in CRM.
Yes,
Yeah.
I worked at a company that went with Dynamics over Salesforce because of that.
And
they
so
wanted the ability to like just be in Outlook the whole time.
So there was 2 differences with that we lost for a long, long time. And it was the quick find would actually use the context of the view to search within. And then we had like conditional formatting in that.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm happy that we had that in 2011 and then now they've finally brought it back.
Interesting how like there's a circle.
Like the left navigation and the tabs.
Yeah.
And that like headers in the white space and the
Mhm.
all right. Any other thoughts, Merlin, Liz, on topic?
I don't think so. Let's wrap it up.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thanks for sharing and thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Dynamics Hot Dish podcast. For additional content and previous episodes, check out our website at dynamicshotdish.com, follow us on Twitter at dynamicshotdish, and subscribe to our podcast for notifications. Thanks. See you next time.